Aquarius, what I am about to share, I have genuinely never seen anything like this. Not once. There is a level of spiritual manipulation, obsession, energetic binding wrapped around your love connection right now that is absolutely staggering. We are talking tremendous, overwhelming witchcraft-level intensity aimed directly at your heart. And the person behind it? They're not who you assumed. This goes way beyond jealousy or missing you. Someone crossed a line most people do not even know exists, and they did it because your energy is that powerful, that untouchable, that impossible to release. But here is the twist: the witchcraft is backfiring. The very energy they tried to force? It is collapsing back onto them. Before I show you exactly what unravels in September, tell me where you are watching from tonight. Drop it below, hit that like button, and subscribe, because this message did not find you by accident. Aquarius, the first thing I need you to understand is that the energy surrounding you right now is not normal. It is not everyday tension. It is not just someone thinking about you before bed and then moving on with their morning. No. What is happening in your field right now has a weight to it. A density. Like someone has been standing at the edge of a cliff for months, staring down, terrified to jump but absolutely unable to walk away. That is the energy I am picking up on around this person. They're caught in a loop. A loop that you did not create, that you did not ask for, but one that exists entirely because of the imprint you left on their soul. And I know that sounds dramatic. I know part of you wants to brush it off because Aquarius energy always wants to rationalize, always wants to find the logical explanation. But I need you to set that aside for a few minutes because this reading is not coming from the mind. It is coming from a place that is much deeper, much older, and much more honest than anything your logical brain can process right now. Something has been building quietly in the shadows of this connection. Not loudly. Not with declarations or grand gestures. Quietly. Like water rising in a room while everyone pretends the floor is still dry. What I am sensing is that this person has been performing a version of themselves that has nothing to do with how they actually feel. On the outside? Detached. Composed. Maybe even cold. Maybe they gave you silence when you needed a word. Maybe they pulled away right when the connection was getting real. Maybe they made you feel like you were the one who imagined the whole thing. But underneath? Underneath that carefully constructed wall of indifference, there is a storm that has been raging for longer than you realize. They are not fine. They have not been fine. Every single time they told themselves they were over it, their body betrayed them. Sleepless nights. Random waves of emotion hitting them in the middle of a crowded room. Seeing your name somewhere and feeling their stomach completely drop. That is not someone who has moved on. That is someone who is drowning in a feeling they refuse to name. But here is where it gets complicated. Because it is not just longing. It is not just missing you in a sweet, nostalgic way. There is something darker tangled up in this. Something that feels almost ritualistic. Like this person tried to do something on a spiritual level to either bind you to them or erase you from their mind entirely, and neither one worked. The energy I am seeing around this situation has a quality of forced control. Like someone lit a candle with the wrong intention. Like someone whispered words they did not fully understand into a space that was not theirs to command. And now that energy is sitting heavy in the room between you, and neither of you can quite explain why the air feels different when you think about each other. That is the witchcraft I am talking about. Not movie magic. Not fantasy. Real, raw, untrained spiritual desperation from someone who did not know how else to cope with the intensity of what you awakened in them. And that is the thing, Aquarius. That is what they cannot admit out loud. You awakened something in them that they had kept buried for years. Maybe lifetimes. You did not just make them feel attraction. You made them feel seen in a way that terrified them. You looked past the mask. You did not fall for the performance. You saw the wound underneath, and instead of running, you stayed. And that broke something open in them that they did not know how to close again. That is why they panicked. That is why they ran. Because the deeper the feeling went, the more exposed they became, and this person does not know how to exist in a state of emotional nakedness. Their entire survival strategy has been control, distance, keeping people at arm's length. And then you walked in, not trying to fix them, not trying to change them, just seeing them. And that was the most dangerous thing anyone has ever done to them. So what did they do? They did what fear always does. They tried to shut the door. They convinced themselves that if they could just stop thinking about you, the feeling would die. They tried to replace the energy. Some of you, they brought someone else in. Not because they wanted that person, but because they needed proof that they could feel something for someone who is not you. And it did not work. It never works when the soul has already made its choice. The new person felt hollow. The conversations felt scripted. The intimacy felt like wearing someone else's clothes. And every single night, in the quiet, when there was no one watching, their mind went right back to you. Right back to the way you made them feel before they got scared and destroyed it. Here's the thing that most people will not tell you about this kind of connection. When someone tries to spiritually force an outcome, whether that is trying to bind you or trying to banish you from their thoughts, they are actually confessing something. They are confessing that you have power over them. Real power. Not the kind of power that comes from manipulation or games. The kind of power that comes from being energetically irreplaceable. You cannot spell someone out of your mind if they were never really in it to begin with. The fact that they went to that extreme, that is your confirmation. That is the proof. You are not imagining this. You are not crazy. Your intuition has been screaming at you for months, and every time you doubted yourself, you were betraying the one voice that has been telling you the truth this entire time. The cards around this section are showing me the energy of the Tower mixed with the moon. And what that tells me is that there has been an illusion this entire time. Not on your end. On theirs. They built a story in their head about why they had to leave, why they had to shut down, why you were the problem. And that story? It is crumbling. Right now. As we speak. In September, the foundation of that false narrative is going to collapse completely, and they are going to be standing in the wreckage of their own making, finally forced to look at what is actually real. And what is real, Aquarius, is the feeling they have been running from since the very beginning. This person's ego has been at war with their heart for so long that they forgot which one was leading. But the heart does not forget. The soul does not forget. And no amount of spiritual manipulation, no amount of distance, no amount of pretending is going to change the fact that your energy is woven into theirs in a way that cannot be undone by human will. What was done in the dark is about to be exposed in the light. And when that happens, everything shifts. Aquarius, let's talk about the exact mechanics of why this person is so completely paralyzed right now. Because it is not just that they miss you. It is not just a simple case of regret. What I am picking up on is that they are trapped in a psychological and spiritual cage of their own making, and the bars of this cage are made entirely of their own pride, their fear, and their absolute refusal to admit that they made a catastrophic mistake. They thought they could outsmart the universe. They thought that by pulling away, by creating this heavy, suffocating silence, they would be the one holding the power. They thought that if they controlled the distance, they controlled the narrative. But here is the thing about Aquarius energy. It is ruled by the electric, unpredictable force of Uranus. You cannot cage lightning. And the moment they tried to put you in a box, the very thing they were trying to control ended up short-circuiting their entire life. They are caught in this brutal inner conflict where their ego is screaming at them to stay away, but their soul is starving for you. Their pride is massive. For some of you, this person has a reputation to uphold. They care deeply about how they are perceived. They want to be seen as the one who walked away cleanly, the one who didn't need anyone, the one who is completely unbothered. But underneath that carefully curated social image, they are a mess. They are checking your social media when they know they shouldn't. They are asking mutual friends about you under the guise of just casual conversation. They are watching your energy, watching how you are moving, watching how you are glowing up and thriving without them, and it is driving them absolutely insane. Because the narrative they sold themselves was that you would fall apart without them. Instead, They are watching you become more magnetic, more untouchable, and more radiant than ever before. And that contrast? That is the knife twisting in their gut every single day. What they awakened in you, and what you awakened in them, is a karmic mirror that they are terrified to look into. This person carries so much unhealed baggage. For some of you, they have a deep, ancestral, or past life wound around abandonment or betrayal. When the connection with you started getting profoundly real, when it started requiring them to actually be vulnerable, their trauma responses kicked in like a tripwire. They associated the depth of your love with the inevitability of loss. So, they preemptively destroyed it. They pushed you away to protect themselves from a pain they hadn't even experienced yet. It is emotional immaturity at its finest, but it is also a profound tragedy because in trying to avoid getting hurt, they guaranteed their own misery. They chose the safety of an empty room over the risk of a shared life, and now they are sitting in that empty room realizing it is very, very cold. And this is where the witchcraft element of this reading really comes into play, because their desperation reached a point where they didn't know how to handle the energetic backlash of their own actions. When you walked away, when you matched their silence with your own divine boundaries, they panicked. They realized they had lost the upper hand. So, they tried to use energy to force a reaction. Maybe they did a literal spell, maybe they just engaged in intense, toxic obsession, projecting their will onto you, trying to make you dream about them, trying to make you feel their presence so heavily that you would break your own boundaries and reach out. They wanted to feel like they still had a tether to you. But here is the twist, Aquarius. Here is the spice that makes this situation so incredibly juicy. You did not break. Your spiritual immunity is too high. Their little energetic projections just bounced right off your aura and hit them squarely in the face. That is why they are suffering so much right now. The very energy they tried to throw at you to make you obsessed is currently suffocating them. They're experiencing the insomnia, the anxiety, the heavy chest, the sudden waves of grief. They are feeling the exact emotions they tried to force onto you. The universe has a hilarious way of returning to sender whatever is not sent in love. And because their intentions were rooted in control and ego, the karmic boomerang is hitting them with tremendous force. They are literally haunted by the energy they tried to manipulate. They cannot sleep. They cannot focus. Every time they try to distract themselves with work, with a new person, with substances, with anything, your face is there. Your energy is in the room. You are the ghost in their machine, and they do not know how to exorcise you because you were never a demon. You were the best thing that ever happened to them, and they treated you like an inconvenience. The question is, how long can they sustain this illusion? How long can they pretend to the world and to themselves that they're fine when their own spirit is rejecting their lies? The cards I am seeing here are the Five of Swords and the Hermit. The Five of Swords is the hollow victory. They won the argument. They got the last word. They created the distance they thought they wanted. But the Hermit shows them now isolated, holding a lantern, looking at the wreckage of what they built. They are realizing that being right is a very lonely place to be. They are realizing that their ego fed them a lie that tasted good in the moment, but is poisoning them now. They cannot let go because their soul knows that walking away from you was walking away from their own evolution. You were not just a lover, Aquarius. You were a catalyst. You were the person who was supposed to help them break through their own limitations and, instead, they used you as a mirror to hide behind. Now, the mirror is gone and they are forced to look at themselves. And they do not like what they see. The guilt is starting to set in. The regret is morphing from a dull ache into a sharp, undeniable realization. They are standing at the edge of their own psychological prison, holding the key, but they are too terrified to unlock the door because they know that the moment they step out, they have to face the truth of what they did to you. But the universe does not care about their fear. The universe only cares about the truth. And the truth is coming for them. The pressure is building. The spiritual timing is aligning in a way that is going to force their hand, whether they are ready or not. The isolation is about to end, not because they suddenly became brave, but because the karmic debt they owe this connection is finally due. Aquarius, there is a specific moment in every karmic connection when the universe simply says enough. And for this person, that moment has already happened. The turning point did not arrive with a loud explosion or a dramatic, movie-style confrontation. It arrived in the quiet. It arrived in the absolute, suffocating silence that followed their last attempt to control the narrative. They thought that by maintaining their distance, by keeping up this cold, detached facade, they would eventually numb the feeling. They thought time would dilute the intensity of what you two shared. But time did not dilute it. Time concentrated it. The moment they realized their energetic manipulation was not working, that you were not breaking, you were not begging, you were not chasing, that was the exact second the dam cracked. What changed, Aquarius, is you. You shifted your frequency. While they were stuck in the muddy, stagnant waters of their own ego, you quietly began to ascend. You stopped waiting for an apology that was never coming. You redirected your energy back into your own life, your own purpose, your own magic. And let me tell you, there is nothing more terrifying to a person who is trying to control you than watching you become completely untouchable. They saw it. Maybe they saw it in a photo, maybe a mutual friend mentioned how incredibly radiant you've been looking, or maybe they just felt it energetically across the distance. The moment they realized you were thriving without them, the illusion they had built completely shattered. The narrative that they were the prize, that you would always be waiting in the wings, evaporated into thin air. And that is when the panic truly set in. But this is not just regular panic. This is spiritual panic. This is the soul waking up and realizing it has made a grave error. The cards I am pulling for this section are the Devil reversed, followed immediately by the Star. This is a massive, undeniable shift. The Devil reversed means the chains are breaking. The obsessive, toxic, controlling energy they were holding onto is being forcibly stripped away from them by divine intervention. They are being dragged, kicking and screaming, into the light of their own truth. And the Star? That is you, Aquarius. You are the healing, the hope, the guiding light they foolishly tried to blow out, only to realize they are now standing in pitch darkness. Here is the painful truth they are grappling with right now, and it is a brutal one. They do not just miss you. They miss who they were when they were with you. You brought out a version of them that was softer, more alive, more authentic. And they killed that version of themselves out of fear. Now, they are walking around like a ghost, going through the motions of their daily life, but feeling completely hollowed out. Every interaction with anyone else feels superficial. Every attempt to distract themselves falls flat. The contrast between the warmth they felt in your presence and the coldness of their current reality is a physical ache in their chest that they cannot ignore anymore. Their feelings for you are no longer a dull, manageable ache. They have morphed into a roaring, undeniable fire. The confusion is clearing up, and what is replacing it is absolute, crystal clear clarity. They know now, without a shadow of a doubt, that you are the one. Not just a chapter, not just a lesson, but the one. And this clarity is bringing with it a profound, overwhelming urge to confess. They are drafting messages to you right now. They are typing out paragraphs of apologies, of explanations, of raw, unfiltered truth, and then deleting them because no combination of words feels adequate enough to fix what they broke. They want to apologize not just for the surface-level arguments or the distance, but for the energetic violation. They know they disrespected your spirit, and that guilt is eating them alive. But here is the emotional turn, the twist that keeps them paralyzed even as they desperately want to reach out. They know, deep down, that a simple "I'm sorry" is no longer enough. They know that you are too evolved, too self-aware, to just accept a breadcrumb apology and let them back into your life on the same old terms. They realize that if they are going to come back, they have to come back with a complete dismantling of their old ego. They have to offer real commitment. They have to show up with vulnerability, with transparency, with a willingness to do the actual, messy healing work. And that level of exposure terrifies them. They are standing on the edge of the ultimate confession, knowing that the moment they speak their truth, they are handing you all the power. The universe is not giving them a choice in this matter. The spiritual timing of September is acting as a cosmic pressure cooker. I am picking up on intense synchronicities surrounding this person right now. They are seeing your name everywhere. They are waking up at 3:33 or 11:11 constantly. They're hearing your song playing in random, impossible places. The universe is literally cornering them, using every spiritual sign in the book to remind them of the bond they tried to sever. The divine pressure is so heavy that they can barely breathe. The signs are not just for you, Aquarius. They are for them. The universe is forcing them to look at the altar they walked away from, and it is demanding that they make a choice. The old cycle is dead. Let me repeat that. The old cycle of push and pull, of hot and cold, of mind games and energetic manipulation is absolutely dead. It cannot be resurrected. Even if they wanted to go back to the way things were, the universe would not allow it. What is emerging from the ashes of this connection is either a completely new, deeply authentic foundation, or it is nothing at all. There is no middle ground anymore. The liminal space they have been hiding in is collapsing. They are being forced out of the shadows and into the arena. They are realizing that the witchcraft they tried to wield was just a pathetic attempt to control the uncontrollable. You cannot bind a soul that is meant to be free, and you cannot banish a love that is written in the stars. The spell is broken, but the truth remains. And the truth is that they are hopelessly, irrevocably tethered to you. The only question left is whether they will have the courage to step into that truth and claim it, or if they will let the fear swallow them whole. The pressure is at its absolute maximum. The dam is about to break. Aquarius, before we get to the exact moment this breaks wide open, we have to address the noise. Because there is noise. There is outside energy trying to muddy the waters of this connection right up until the very end. For some of you, there is a specific third party, a friend, a family member, or even someone from their past who never really left the picture, who has been actively feeding this person lies about you. They are whispering in their ear, trying to convince them that you moved on, that you were playing them, that you never really cared. This outside influence has been a massive source of friction, creating a smokescreen that this person has used to justify their silence. They have been using these outside voices as a shield to protect their fragile ego from the terrifying reality of how much they actually want you. But here is the emotional turn that is about to shift everything. In the energy of early September, this person is going to suddenly see this third party for exactly who they are. The illusion of the helpful friend or the concerned family member is going to shatter completely. They are going to realize that these outside voices are just projecting their own insecurities, their own jealousies, and their own empty lives onto your connection. And the moment this person realizes they have been taking advice from people who have never experienced a love as profound, as electric, as what they have with you, the disgust they feel toward that outside interference is going to be palpable. It is going to be the final straw that makes them ruthlessly cut off the noise and turn their focus entirely back to you. So, what happens next? What is the actual, tangible outcome of this tremendous energetic shift? Aquarius, get ready, because the dam is breaking this September. This is not a subtle shift. This is a full-blown, undeniable return of energy. I am seeing the energy of the Knight of Cups rushing in, but it is not the naive, puppy love energy of the past. This is a knight who has been through the fire, who has lost everything, and who is now coming back with absolute, desperate clarity. You are going to receive a communication from them. But I need you to understand, this is not going to be a casual, "Hey, how are you?" text. This is not a breadcrumb. This is going to be a heavy, raw, unfiltered confession. They are going to drop the ego completely. They are going to admit that they were wrong, that they were scared, and that every single thing they tried to do to move on has completely failed. They are going to lay their cards on the table and show you the exact depth of their regret. And here is the most beautiful part of this reveal, the emotional turn that will change the entire dynamic. When they finally speak their truth, when they finally drop the act and show you their broken, messy, honest self, they are going to look at you for your reaction. And in that moment, they are going to realize that you are not angry. You are not vengeful. You are just grounded. You are the eye of the storm. That realization is going to hit them like a ton of bricks. They are going to realize that you are the only safe place they have ever known, and they are going to beg, either explicitly or energetically, for the chance to make it right. The commitment they were too scared to offer before, they are going to be throwing it at your feet now. But Aquarius, this brings us to the most crucial part of this reading. Your guidance. What do you do with all of this intense, overwhelming energy coming back toward you? The answer is simple, but it requires every ounce of your Aquarius discipline. You do nothing. You do not chase. You do not lower your vibration to match their chaos. You do not try to force the outcome or rush the reconciliation. Your only job right now is to protect your peace and stay in your power. When they reach out, when they finally break the silence, you must remain the grounded, untouchable force that you have become. Let them do the work. Let them prove their transformation through actions, not just words. If you step backward now, if you rush in to soothe their ego before they have done the actual healing, the cycle will just repeat. You must hold the boundary. You must remain the prize. And here is the deepest truth I want you to walk away with today. You were never the one who needed to be fixed in this dynamic. You were the mirror. You were the catalyst. Your energy was so blindingly bright, so authentically aligned, that it forced this person to look at their own shadows. They ran because they couldn't handle the light. But now they are turning back around because the dark is too cold. You do not need to shrink your light to make them comfortable. You just need to keep shining it. The witchcraft they tried to use to control you, it ended up being the very magic that brought them back to their knees. As we close out this reading, I want you to take a deep breath and release the heavy energy of this situation. You have carried this for long enough. The universe has it handled from here. Remember to take what resonates and leave the rest. Your intuition is your greatest guide, so always trust what feels true in your own spirit. Thank you so much for watching, for sharing your energy with me, and for trusting me with your story. I love you, I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next reading. Stay blessed, Aquarius.